A whole bunch of partying and flop houses.
They just always get money and handouts.
How are they the worst off when they're given so much?
We are being made to pay for something that we didn't do.
Where's my money going?
They don't paint their houses. They don't fix windows.
Welfare's not a career.
They're angry at white people.
I mean, they want you to feel sorry for them.
Get off your ass if you're unhappy and go do something about it.
Feels like it's just a lost cause at this point.
Most Canadians have never taken the time to get to know Indigenous people or visit their communities. This group represents those Canadians. All with strong opinions, they've been invited to leave their everyday lives behind and embark on a unique journey deep into Indigenous Canada.
Welcome, all of you, right here to Winnipeg's North End.
Ross, a public servant and family man.
The past is the past. If you're going to worry about the past, the future's not going to do you no favors.
Avonlea, married mother.
I didn't create a residential school and force one into it.
Ron, Trevor.
When somebody says that this is their land and it always has been, no, actually, it used to belong to dinosaurs.
Gym owner Ashley.
Change my life, why can't you do it for yourself?
Animal lover Jamie Sue.
I feel like a different doll.
Dallas, lobster fisherman welder.
Continue to support and we're gonna
6% have no idea what that is.
it could be good or it could be like
It could be a journey of surprise that'll turn their life upside down. There you go.
60 years of their tools. When did he work?
28 days, the six will face they never meet. On a journey that can change us.
for me, it's like Keller.
But then Paul went back in 2003.
The Canada I thought I knew.
I'm sorry to understand.
That's not an excuse. You're an example of something.
These 6 travelers have been invited to experience Indigenous Canada for the next 4 weeks. Other than that, they know nothing of the journey that lies ahead. They've traveled from different parts of the country to meet in Winnipeg's North End, a notoriously dangerous community where 1 in 4 residents are Indigenous. Here they will meet Michael Champagne of Shamattawa Cree First Nation, which is light on what they are about to undertake.
I would like to take this opportunity here to Winnipeg's North End, Treaty 1 territory, homeland of the Métis Nation, and Winnipeg's North End is a community that is very well known, sometimes for all the wrong reasons. But what I'm excited about today is to welcome all of you to my community so that you can see with your own eyes, experience with your own bodies, and feel with your own hearts what this community is really about. Because of the medicine wheel where we're standing. And it talks about the 4 different nations of our world coming together. It's about elements coming together. When we have opportunities like this to build a relationship, we have a chance to improve our life and perspective as well. That's the reason why you're all here today, so that we can figure out some of the experiences of Indigenous people in Canada and understand a little bit of the historical context. So I'm curious to know, what experiences have you folks had with Indigenous people in Canada?
Oftentimes you see them inebriated, or you see them passed out on the street.
I feel like people are kind of wondering why they're giving us money, free housing or education or programs or like that. They're not doing anything with it.
Don't come to me bragging about what you can get from the government when I can't get it.
Do you guys feel like any of the perspectives you carry about Indigenous people are one-sided or potentially ignorant?
Oh, the idea, for sure. All I know are stories that people from the white community have told me that they've heard.
That's reality. That ain't freaking ignorance.
Driving through a reserve. A house burns down, and it stays burned down for years. Nobody goes and tidies it up or cleans it up.
To me, first impressions are the key.
Ross is the father of 3 in Edmonton. He takes great pride in his home.
Got nominated for enhancing our vibrant community for Edmonton.
But the views on people aren't pretty.
You ever have the nicest looking Indian reserve in Canada? They ever have that contest? Oh my God, be fighting for last place. Windows, if they have a car, it breaks down, it stays in the yard. Take 5 minutes of your life and get out of bed before noon and fight your spot.
Ross's family is well aware of his outspoken opinions.
I'm a little worried because, yeah, he doesn't have a filter. No thinking involved.
And his views deeply entrenched.
The big residential school score, everyone's playing that card. We were trying to help them. We were trying to indoctrinate them into our society. If we had done nothing, it probably wouldn't have been any different.
The perspectives and experiences that you have shared with me today will be challenged in the next few weeks as Indigenous people in Canada experience. I have a lot of hope and faith that minds will be.
These participants aren't going far for the liberty. At over 90,000 strong, Winnipeg has the largest Indigenous people.
I'm kind of curious to where the next adventure going to lead us.
Dallas, Ashley, Ross don't know where they're going next. Dallas, nervous.
This could be not so bad, or it could be like, holy, what did I just sign up for?
Dallas, carefree 26-year-old from New Brunswick.
Off to have a great day or two today. Sun's out, guns out.
It's less sunny.
Do I think that there's advantages to being Aboriginal? Yes, I do. Do I think that they don't take full advantage of those advantages? No.
When it comes to First Nations reserves, Dallas wonders why they even exist.
You don't see Caucasian reserves, African Canadian reserves, or anything like that. It's the things you see with the newspapers and these areas that film them for a second, and then you wonder why you do.
Over in the other group, Avonlea, Jamie Sue, and Dawn are heading to the suburb of Stonewall, with habits themselves.
Indigenous people live on the reserves in BC, so I would be expecting to go on to
a reservation, I don't think, ever.
If I was to go on to a reserve and stay at one of those homes, I would want to find a place to go and take a shower first thing in the morning. I probably would be described as someone who is very opinionated and not afraid to speak up about how I feel things.
Ardrossan, Alberta. He makes no bones about his feelings towards Indigenous people.
What's on my Unity shirt? The letters mean fit in or off. A Native person, by definition, is a person who wants to be. So it upsets me when somebody says that they have better rights because this is their land.
He believes that stories of abuse at residential schools are exaggerated.
What we hear in schools is what their lawyers want you to hear so they can get more money from the government. Your culture, your language. Why should I, as a tax-paying Canadian, have to pay you for it? So I still don't know where the suffering is.
In spite of their assumptions, the travelers find themselves not on a reserve, but in an upper-class neighborhood.
They're pretty nice places.
The group's preconceived notion of what an Indigenous home should look like is challenged.
My house doesn't look like this.
Mine doesn't either.
My house.
But this is more than just a drive-by. Dawn, Avonlea, and Jamie Sue are with an Indigenous family for the next 24 hours. Dawn, Avonlea, and Jamie Sue are spending the night at an Indigenous family's home. This is their first contact.
Come on in. I'm Dawn. Dawn, nice to meet you.
Hi, Nina.
Hi.
This beautiful home is a far cry from Dawn's bleak expectations.
What I'm used to for reserve homes, I don't see this as being a reserve home, so I'm okay with this. This is fine.
Host Kevin Lemeru, his wife Jennifer, and daughter Mina are a hard-working, loving family. Contrary to Dawn's beliefs, Jennifer's culture and language was taken from her. She's taking steps now to reclaim it.
I just recently got my Indian status. I guess the effects of assimilation on my family were just that we look at our connection to our culture, to our language, and things like that. So it was kind of like, who am I? And I'm Indigenous. What does that actually mean to me?
What does it mean to you for Mina?
Well, I think that I didn't need my status to connect, but it's a little while to understand. Why was I growing up in a non-Indigenous community, my culture and my language, and why do I not have that connection? My family went through this for generations of assimilation and colonization, and it has impacted my family. And so it's kind of just, you are First Nations, and we recognize that, and I finally have come to just feel to background and feel okay with my story.
The second group of travelers is heading toward the Maples, a neighborhood not typically associated with Indigenous people.
Wherever we do go, I just hope that, there's just like a welcoming vibe.
Ashley is mostly concerned.
Like my experiences with, Indigenous people, it's wanting to find out, why do you drink so much? If you're miserable, why don't you still move? We all pay our taxes as Canadians, and then we see a lot of the community struggling things. It's like, well, where's my money going?
Gym owner Ashley can't understand why Indigenous people can't resolve their issues, like she has.
I changed my life around, why can't you do it yourself? If I kept the fact that I was emotionally and physically abused by my own family members, or I wanted to run away and do things myself, but I've come to realize that no one knows me shit except for myself. It is on them to fix it. If you're unhappy, and go do something about it.
Upon arrival at her Indigenous host's home, fears are alleviated.
I feel a lot more comfortable knowing that this is a nice area. You know what I mean?
Hello.
Oh.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm Ross. Derek. Don't mind having total strangers coming in? Yeah.
Eric Hart and his wife Candace live here with their 2 teenage kids. Achieving the stuff easy, Eric put himself through university, working 3 jobs.
As a couple, we always knew down the road we were in a house. We wanted to travel. And one thing for us is that we made sure that we never had any alcohol in the residence, in our house. Yeah. Never.
An Indigenous home without alcohol is harshly to fathom.
Like, whenever someone says alcohol and Indigenous, you ask an average Canadian, the first few things that pop in their head are like alcoholism and drug abuse and abuse. Before you guys kind of got together, did you guys have any issues with your own alcohol or drug abuse?
My mother's a mother. She never allowed alcohol in the house. I think maybe that's where I got it from. From a young age, I was introduced to our culture. So I was just used to not having alcohol.
There are a lot of your friends that don't have alcohol?
We know a lot of people. Yeah, there's a lot of they don't.
Yeah. But Ross doesn't believe they represent the majority.
they're out in the public, right? We don't have to do too many walks, some homeless guy or some, right?
But I think that's the thing too, that we just want our family, our children, being used to that, where there's no alcohol in the home.
Don't forget Christmas. Some guy can want to bank, doesn't matter if you know. You don't know?
No.
We keep the alcohol and the drugs away from it.
Do you want to dance before you get ready for bed?
Over in Stonewall, Dawn, Avonlea, and Jamie Sue are about to see the positive effects of digital demeanor.
Can you get some water?
He knows that the drum needs water.
It makes the skin go not dry anymore. It's a butterfly dance.
Oh.
Wonderful.
We made this together as a family at one of the school events.
It was demonstrated how to do it, and it was
The hide, and we made the drumstick.
That's very cool. Yeah, just to even have the opportunity now in my adulthood to do it with me is amazing.
Good night, Mina.
Good night, Mina.
It's bedtime for Mina, giving the guests a chance to learn that Kevin's life wasn't always.
Poverty was common when I was growing up. And then everything that comes with poverty, looking for work, looking for reasonable housing, escaping bad situations. I was sober when I was 10 years old. Looking back, I was probably drinking alcoholically when I was 12. I was in a desperate situation when I was 13, in enough treatment centers, in trouble with the law, spiraling suicide attempts. And I started to look to understand some of the causes and conditions. Residential schools, all kinds of anxiety. And the effects of this roll out into our lack of education there. Finances, economic violence, all these things go back to this wound, right? I have these moments where I'll go into Mina's room and I'll rub her back and I'll turn her. But I have to think about the fact that there was a time recently as 1986, the government might honor me and for having her, so to speak, right? What would happen to her life? And then instead of my daughter having a chance to heal from that experience, they took her kids away. And then their kids, and then their kids, and their kids, all the kids.
See, as a kid growing up, I wished somebody would take me away. Because I didn't have to go to school to get beaten. I got beaten at home.
This is the beauty of something like this, so that we can hear each other's stories and have that empathy for each other, right? Because we haven't had that opportunity. I need you to understand that residential schools are not your fault. It's not on you. And this is the reason I wanted to invite you into my home, is because I've seen far too many Canadians walk away from learning about residential schools with a sense of guilt that isn't owed to them. Yes.
I don't believe this. How is that possible?
Be all over the news. It's disappointing.
Yeah. The other side of that, though, is that this isn't any of our faults. We do have to make a decision. Even though I'm grateful for this, and that's for every person to decide.
The first day of the day is done, and there is much for the exhausted travelers to absorb. But their opinions on the experience so far differ.
The thought pattern I had showing up to the unknown way and thinking, shit, am I going to be sleeping in a slum? And then we show up to this nice house with these awesome people. It caught me off guard thinking, oh, I had a negative thought right off the get-go, and I shouldn't have.
This is a man and his wife and paying their own way, and they've got a beautiful place. People that live in the houses that we saw in the north, this is probably the greatest percentage. And we're working. Some of them may be on welfare. Who knows? I don't know. I know there's people that aren't doing anything.
Winnipeg, day 2. Tie to their Indigenous hosts. Today, Jesu, Ross, and Dawn will experience a very different side of the city. Many of Canada's missing and today, and sadly, some of their remains have been found here in the Red River. In their own difficult past, Jamie Sue can empathize with this awful reality more than most.
Alcoholism runs in my family, really strong on my mom's side. My mom has had her struggles with it that was passed on to generational. I am an animal lover. I have 3 cats, Missy, Baxter, Parker, and a dog named
Jamie Sue lives in Ingersoll, Ontario. Growing up near a reserve, she was taught to fear her Indigenous neighbors.
We were told not to come, and we were told not to go on the reserve ever. Like, it's not safe.
Today, she still knows little of Canada's first meat.
That some people have gone through in their childhood and stuff. It just seems like it's a whole bunch of partying and flop houses. Like any community, there's always going to be those uplifting spirits in it, and I'm sure we'll actually get to meet like that little light in the night and then make it into a happy one, because there's always hope.
Unlike Jamie Sue, Ross and Dawn have little sympathy for the victims.
We're hearing about missing and murdered Indigenous women, but we're not hearing about white girls, black girls, Asian girls, whatever. And for many of them that are missing, it still comes down to a choice. Being broke and poor and being addicted to drugs is a choice.
Upside down. The group has been sent to experience Drag the Red, an Indigenous grassroots initiative looking for evidence of missing and murdered people. Started by Bernadette Smith after her own sister missing nearly 10 years ago, is about more than dredging up evidence. It's about healing.
It's helping people get involved, it's helping community come together, and it's helping to create change involved, because they don't want to see this violence anymore.
What kind of percentages are we looking at that are Indigenous and non-Indigenous persons?
Well, 1,181 missing and murdered, Indigenous women. Yep. If we were to take that and equate that to Caucasian women, that would equate to about 18,000.
Lord, these aren't just numbers. They're human beings.
It's so sad that just my identity so much that it removes the fact that that's an actual person.
I mean, media were portraying my sister as this, average woman. So it really dehumanizes and gives the public almost permission to put blame on these women. Like, my sister didn't grow up thinking, oh, I want to work the streets and be addicted to drugs. She was sexually abused as a little girl. She was 12 years old. She was raped. And that really turned her life around. A lot of our stories are similar. We never hear something to us. We need to, as a society, shift the way we think, we act, and we treat each other.
Dallas and Avonlea are about to get a taste of life on the streets in the North End.
You three will come with me.
Every night, James Fatal leads a group of volunteers.
Okay, let's do this.
Working closely with hospitals and law enforcement, they patrol this largely indigenous neighborhood. There are plenty of dangers.
There's a needle over here, James. Needles.
I guess you've got the sharp container there.
Into their walk, Ashley discovers an exposed, used hypodermic needle.
It is very scary. These people are just getting high and throwing their needles and everything else.
Growing up on these very streets, James did time in prison before straightening out his life and starting the program.
Well, the numbers got in trouble, so they wanted money. Buy things that I couldn't afford. When they find themselves in a position where they're trying to tend for kids that they don't have enough money to support, their tricks or whatever else.
Yeah. So you kind of feel like it's a cycle almost.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it also has poverty.
Hello there.
Hi.
What's going on? You okay?
Good.
But it's not kids on the streets that shocks Ashley in Avonlea.
It's 7:30 in the evening, and there's no parents around. And
is it a good thing that they're being independent, or and it appears like neglect? It's alarming to me being a mom.
Avonlea, the middle in Chilliwack, BC.
I have two boys. They're 1 and 2.
Okay, like straight.
Definitely classify us in middle class, and with having one income, we really have to work at it. We have a house, we're paying the mortgage off.
When she compares her situation to Betty's,
Here, you help for it.
she feels crap.
I'm not sure how it works on the reservations, but I think they're given $1 to pay for that house. Whereas in my house, I have to work hard for everything we have, and my husband works hard for the money. It's like to think that you just get some money from the government and don't have to worry about things.
Back there, watching the kids, some don't have shoes on, and they're walking around the grass, the same grass we're looking
Needles.
for, paraphernalia. Where are the parents?
And the dad was the other one with the little blonde girl.
Mom's right there.
Why are they doing better?
Isn't she saying anything?
Can't answer that. The living like this. The thing that the indigenous community has lost is that connectivity between the family members. The culture was taken away, language was taken away, land was taken away. There's a mental sickness that comes along with that.
Ashley's not convinced. She can't understand why indigenous people can't.
Instead of making excuses like, I'm not getting enough money to live, like, why don't you get up, man up, and go find a job?
Yeah, well, when you have a criminal record, employment.
You come from someone who had a criminal record.
But I worked
and look
very
where you
hard
are.
here.
Exactly. So
it's not impossible.
Exactly.
But it's not easy.
And you're a perfect example.
Cool. Remember, as an indigenous person, these kind of things are pervasive through our community. Barriers to education, barriers to employment. A lot of barriers. So that's why we're here.
But I learned, I took courses. That's my thing.
That's
is
right,
like,
but
I'm just having a very hard time understanding. That's my thing.
It's not universal.
Out on the Red River, the other group is looking for evidence of missing women with Drag the Red.
Going down there's a whole bit of tragedy and bad memories and graves for people who came to an end that they didn't deserve, so...
They stop near an old railway bridge, gathering debris from downriver. It takes a little time to snag something.
Oh.
What's touching is what would be interesting.
The prospect of finding something weighs heavily on Jason.
Every time I pulled it up, there's like a moment of high anxiety and what ifs that really popped into my mind. Holy crap.
And there's throwing that in there, right? To keep it down.
Now it's Jamie Sue's turn to drag the bottom.
Part of me really wanted to help someone, but at the same time, a whole bunch of fear. Like, what if this is something that's going to haunt my dreams, or it's just intense?
Oh, I got something.
Got something? Here.
Yeah.
Ready? Then I'll check on the
I think it let go.
Yeah, I let go.
It's been a long night, and some of the travelers have been profoundly affected by what they've experienced.
On the news, and not often enough, in my opinion, because I didn't really understand the magnitude of the situation. So it's definitely part of now and very real to me.
You get to hear stories, man, and you get to really see what's going on instead of just driving by.
Everyone's convinced.
My opinion hasn't really changed. I think that the weaker the family group is, the further the hole it goes, basically. Yeah, it's a waste of time.
Family, when it's a generational mess, how can they support someone when they're dealing with their own addiction? You know, you don't have that solid foundation to grow from. I hurt for these people, but at the same time, I'm happy that they're able to come together out of their pain and help other people with their grief.
There's got to be a line where the excuses stop and the actions start.
The second weekend, the group will have their views confronted in one of the most isolated places in Canada. The travelers now get to Kimmerud, a remote Inuit community on the western shore of Baffin Island.
Well, it's got wings and an engine. We're good.
Go next to the system.
It's crazy. They said it was 6, but I call bullshit. I think there's a negative beside that.
With no roads on this unforgiving Arctic terrain, air travel the group's only in or out of Kimmirut.
You guys feel like you're definitely a little more remote on this country.
Yeah, there's no trees, not a tree to be had.
Jeez, there's a tree line when it's timber.
Yeah.
I know that. What we signed up for. It's gonna be an adventure.
It's both breathtaking and humbling for Dallas and the group.
I've never felt so foreign in a country.
The travel company by local Sackler.
I think I like it here. Yeah, but it's kind of chilly.
Local residents, 90% of them Inuit. Many of them still rely on hunting as a way. Dawn are welcomed into the home of Jeannie and Elijah Padla.
Yeah, welcome.
Jeannie and Elijah speak only Inuktitut. Zach translates for the group.
Thanks for coming to my community.
Jeannie's meal, but it's far from what she'd typically serve her family.
So what would be an example?
Seal. Whale.
No.
Ashley's chance to try local food will come sooner than she thinks. Dallas, Ross, and Jamie Sue shop at the local store for dinner.
Somebody's making a killing somewhere.
Supply and demand at its finest right there. Supply.
After the bill, Ross is left with a serious case of sticker shock.
I think I already took $5 for this. That's where people are paying.
Back at Jeannie's house,
Yum, 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 yum.
a local delicacy has been delivered. Freshly killed caribou, prepared the traditional way, raw.
Would you like to try some?
But raw?
Yeah, why not?
I am so full.
Oh, just have a bite.
For them, it was a real treat, and trying it, it wasn't my thing. I think it was a mental thing. You could see so much blood.
So, do you eat the stomach?
Yeah, it tastes like grass.
Ashley finally gives in.
Does it taste like steak? You know what? It actually tastes good. It actually tastes really good.
It's all part of the sharing economy Inuit people have lived by for centuries.
Seal, fish, we don't exchange and buy. We distribute and share, and everyone gets a bite.
Dallas, Ross, and Jamie Sue are about to have the adventure of a lifetime.
Hello!
A local hunter, his daughter, and the Padlock family are taking them out on the frigid Arctic water for a seal hunt. It's an experience few Canadians will ever have.
That's insane. That's my first iceberg ever.
But for animal lover Jamie Sue, the fight is gut-wrenching.
I personally am not comfortable with killing an animal. I don't know how I will handle it.
Dallas, on the other hand, is ready for the kill.
See how they live. Let's see how they provide. I'm fully on board. I want to get a seal. I want to get 2 seals.
But a suitable seal in open water isn't easy, particularly at this time of year.
When you shoot them, they float to the top?
Not much fat right now. It's summertime basing. When we shoot them, we gotta be quick.
What did you do? Just put it in the boat?
Yeah.
The foggy conditions make it nearly impossible for the Inuit hunters to spot a seal. But the travelers are about to learn how to succeed. Kimmirut.
Whoa! You fooled me.
Dawn, Ashley, and Emily have seen all sides of the community, including a session with the local.
What do you use for the Yeah.
But a chance meeting at lunch starts the concept to alter their perspective on Inuit life.
You know that old saying, eh? Walk a mile in my shoes and you'll understand.
They talk with Nunavut MP Hunter Tutu, here for a town hall meeting.
Like a challenge for Aboriginal people, just the ignorance.
Yeah.
Recently, he's gone public about issues with alcoholism stemming from his time at a residential school. Prior to this journey, Ashley wasn't aware that residential schools even existed.
I can't know anything about the residential schools with Aboriginals. Never knew that it was a problem.
It was probably the darkest period of my life.
Okay.
You have no family, you feel like you're all alone. If you look at the whole concept behind it was to assimilate Indigenous people. After Lajama, it was what he said, you know, the only way to take the Indian out of somebody is to leave them in their homes. Basically, it was cultural genocide. I mean, if you know my story, I went through a heck of a year last year. I went through treatment. I faced a lot of stuff. Right. And, you know, I thought, all this happened. How could it bother me? It didn't bother me. Look at me. I'm successful.
Yeah.
But, you know, until I sat down and realized how much of an impact those things that happened to me in my life had on me, that I needed to deal with them.
The government is trying to put money towards Indigenous people. People don't want to go. They don't want that help.
The program and resources in South Canada have been there years. In all of the land that Inuit reside in Canada, not one single treatment center.
Wow.
Not one. You know, it takes a courage for someone to go and talk to someone. Up here, it's like you may have like a psychologist, they open up and they go in, they talk to somebody, their soul out to them, the person's gone, someone's gonna get that. It's hard enough multiple times. It's just too much.
Sucks.
They need programs to help people heal from that.
On the icy shores of Baffin Island, Dallas is hunting seals. But so far, they've got nothing. On shore to try their luck at Arctic shark. Upstream is a traditional fish trap that makes catching easy. But getting there is anything but. The hike gives the group a new respect for the Inuit people who survived here for generations.
I could have done it, because you don't see no trees where you could like have fire, or like any wood where you can make shelter. Like, I don't think I could last 2 days up here by myself, man.
Alice and the others can barely keep up with their 78-year-old guide. The fish trap is overrun with water, and there are no char to harvest.
I guess the normal way, there's not so much rain, the fish get trapped in there, and we're able to just grab them out.
With no seal and now no fish, the weary travelers get a taste of how hard life on this rugged land can be. Bears are a welcome find.
This is a tough place to live and survive.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't live out here. You gotta look at people, they're the true Canadians when I really think about it.
These people are the hardy ones.
The cornerstone, if you ask me.
Back in Kimmeroot, the revelation about residential schools to Heavenly Ashley and Don.
I'm still skeptical about the whole school thing, because it was all, they stole our kids. They ruined our families. They took us all away.
That was to focus on. It's not focusing on.
That was a violent taking of all the children
It's not
from
focusing
families.
on. They took their culture. They took their
You
language.
can't teach them culture. You
Yes,
can teach them a new culture, and if they don't,
But if they're
But then that's
forcing
negating
them,
their own
they're
culture.
forcing them not to speak that language. That's taking it away. That's taking their human right away. And because of how it was done and the intention that was there, what happened to them
inside the school system
was disgusting.
you say that what they acted. I'm saying maybe they did, but I haven't seen actual proof of it yet.
I haven't seen proof of your life.
I haven't seen proof of my life.
So, I mean,
I can give you firsthand knowledge of what
I'm
happened to
getting
me.
first-hand knowledge. That's why I'm here.
In spite of what he's heard, Don still clings to the belief that residential schools may have been a good thing for Indigenous people.
All these kids that were in residential schools were taken, kicking and screaming out of their homes, and their parents were kind of pushed aside to do that. That's bad. That's really bad and really bad. In the meantime, I'm still skeptical.
Coming into a community, you want to make sure that you listen instead of talk over, because I don't think you can come in just guns blazing and say you know everything. That's the epitome of ignorance.
Back on the Arctic coast, it's been a fruitless day of a single seal. Frozen exhausted, Dallas is miserable.
This isn't fun. This isn't good. We'd go missing, no one know. No one know. Not here. No chance. Just want this day to be over with, to be honest with you. I just wanted to kind of fast forward and just be somewhere not here.
It's day 2 of the seal hunt, and Dallas hit the wall.
I've been in a shower this morning. I haven't been able to brush my teeth. This is camping for them, This is kind of on earth.
But for Ross, the hunt has helped a new appreciation for the Inuit people.
I was chasing the snake yesterday. If you keep up with it, you have generations and generations prior to these people big, huge prompts, because I don't know how they did it. They get skinny.
After breakfast, Ross and Jamie Sue sit down with Jean's son, Nepa. They're discovered they have more in common than they thought.
This here is just like, thing drunks or juggies or whatever. That's really not true, because the whole community is so close. Everybody, you're respecting your elders, respecting other people have taught you. Keep in your brain. We just try to maintain it as best we can.
All about kindness and really striving to help other people instead of cool.
We're proud people. We're trying to do way of life all the time. Make that number one.
With sense danger and death. It's not long before they track another in a small cove. Just need to clean it.
Go, 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 go!
They rush over. The seal has sunk out of the For animal lover Jamie Sue.
Well, it's a waste of life. Nobody will take from it.
But the Inuit families hide
Gonna drop like a rock like that. After you shoot. Gonna feed the ocean. Feasting also. Somebody's always.
After a long ride home, the two groups together have a lasting impression.
The experience, and maybe coming in, I was more generous like that.
To be completely honest, they'd be more wild. Like, really, I'm just running around killing stuff. It's completely not like that. So it's just informed my opinion that we're all people on the inside, and we have a lot more similarities than I thought that we would, for sure.
These people are special. Very happy with their family, and you can just tell there's so much joy in kids. You cannot say these people have work and drop to go out and get it, man. Man, that's crazy. That's crazy.
The 6 have no idea but the trials that lie ahead.
The final destination is Muskrat Dam, Ontario.
I'm the minority here. It's definitely one of those feelings. It's like, it's kind of scary.
The seed that was planted in this reserve was residential school.
We can't keep worrying about what happened. Come on, man. Let's not be oblivious to this fact.
You're not getting it.
I am getting it.
Why are you here?
I'm the average white guy, honestly.